Hey guys, my guest tonight, Bruce Olav Solheim, is going to be talking about human and alien integration and more conversations with Anzar. We'll be right back. Grab your popcorn and snacks. Find a comfy spot, take a seat or lie down, and let me transport you to a place of fantasy, ghost stories, ancient legends, odd creatures, alien encounters, and other magical topics. You may even decide to join the conversation. From faraway lands to your own backyard, with a small dash of pixie dust, turn out the lights and open your minds. The journey is about to begin. Hey guys, how's it going? Like everything else, Murphy's Law, thing got cut off at the end. That's life. Hi, my name is Charlotte. I'm going to be your host for the next hour. I'm also the owner of the California Haunts Paranormal Investigation Team based out of Sacramento, California. We are 45 strong up and down the state, which means if you think you have a paranormal need, we can help you. It might take us a while to get to you. California is this huge state. You know, a lot of people, when they think of us, they think of the Beach Boys. They think of California girls. It's like Hawaii, you know, beaches everywhere. Well, there are beaches. There's beaches down, you know, all the way up and down the coast. But outside of those beaches, as you go inland, you've got flatlands, you've got foothills, you've got mountains, you've got deserts. You name it, we've got it here. Okay? So that's why it's really spread out. So it may take us a couple days to get to you. Never more than 1 or 2 days, though. And I can tell you, if that's the case and that starts to happen, we do have psychics on staff who can phone you and talk to you about what may or may not be going on. And in that case, they can calm things down before we get out there. All right? That way, you know, like I said, it won't take more than 1 or 2 days, so they can calm the energy down for you. Anyway, I want to welcome you all this afternoon. We have got, well, this evening, rather, and I can see my internet's being its usual happy self. I will be changing internet companies this next month. I hope, if everything goes well, I'll be changing internet companies. I'm looking forward to that because I've been really unhappy with my Xfinity. And it doesn't help, you know, the situation here that everybody in my neighborhood area has Xfinity. So when there's hot news running, everybody's coming home from work right now, and this is the result. You know, we have freezes, we have the whole thing, and, you know, so I'll be looking forward to switching that up. Anyway, if you're watching from Facebook, and a lot of you are, please feel free to hit that follow button if you haven't done so already, especially if you like what you see today, because we're always looking for followers. I see the numbers are going up on those followers, and I'm really excited. I thank you all for noticing us. I really appreciate that. Same thing with YouTube. If you're watching from YouTube tonight and you like what you see, we have over 900 videos sitting over there. It's all of this show. It's all different topics. I'm a journalist, a photojournalist as well, and I like to change it up. So one night you might get things about UFOs and aliens, and the next night we might be talking about the drug cartels. You never know what I'm going to pick. So that's what keeps you on your toes. Plus, I have folders over there that I put together, and I'm still putting stuff in folders to where you can get this stuff a lot easier. So if you're into Bruce and his topic, where do you go? You go to UFOs. You go to UFOs alien encounters file. Nancy Matz, you go to she has her own file, right? So that's how you do it. And everything's listed by file, cryptids, you name it. And again, over there, if you are watching from over there and you like what you hear and see tonight, please subscribe. You know, we're trying to hit that 1,000, and we're 148 away. We're so close we can taste it. My producers and I are really excited about that. So we're pushing for that, and pushing. And but you know, besides that, you know, it's not like we only have under 1,000 subscribers. You know, we've got over 1,500 people watching us over on Facebook. They can watch us on Facebook. I've got, you know, 400. I'm getting 400 downloads a day of the RSS feed of this show. So I mean, we've got thousands and thousands of people, you know, listening to us from all over the world, and that makes it really exciting. So I want to really quickly do a shout out to those people. Hello, people from all over the world. Glad to have you on board. Okay, and again, like I said, if you haven't subscribed yet on YouTube, please feel free to do so. I'm very active on YouTube. I have a poll going on the community page, you know, to see what types of shows you guys are really interested in. So yeah, And as you're watching tonight, that just reminded me, thank you, whoever gave me the thumbs up. While you're watching, to help us out a little bit, give us a thumbs up, show us some love, some of those like happy heart things, happy faces. Because what that does is that puts us up higher in what they call the FYP in the computers, and it makes the master computers and all the social media places take notice of us, and it puts us out to more people. And so that's what we want, right? We want to get out to more people and get more people on board to watch this little show, right? We work hard at this. So yeah, tonight we are beaming live, and I say beaming because I think it's a good idea. I think of Elvis in Hawaii, when he did that Aloha from Hawaii thing, and they beamed him all over the world. That's how I feel about this. We're being beamed all over the world, but we're being beamed from Facebook, TikTok, Twitch. We're being beamed from Twitter, X. We're being beamed from Twitter. Yeah, we're being beamed from quite a few places live, and I understand we also have thing over at one of the film websites and LinkedIn. So, I mean, we're expanding. Okay, my guest tonight. He's been on before. Had a great time the last time he was on. He had. I guess I don't know if I should use the word befriended, but or however I should do it. But an alien named Anzar had kind of sort of befriended him, and he was having conversations with him. Some very interesting things that he found out about what's going on up in the universe away from what we can see. And so he's been speaking with Anzar again, so we're going to talk about that. Plus, he's got a new book out about alien and human integration. So we're going to be talking about that as well. The man I'm talking about is the one and only Bruce Olav Solheim. So let's bring him in and get an update on what he's been up to and get this show on the road. Off we go. Hello.
Hey, Charlotte and listeners. Thank you. It's great to be back.
Yeah. For people that don't know who you are and what your link is to be on here, do a quick fill in.
Okay. I am a professor of history at Citrus College. I've been teaching college history for 33 years, so a very long time. And in 2016, I had a friend of mine pass away, and a month after he passed away, he came to me in a vision, which I have these experiences, have had them since I was 4 years old, but I never really talked about it. But anyway, he came to me in a vision a month after he died and told me it was time to start talking about my paranormal experiences, my ghost experiences, and my alien experiences. So I was always afraid to do so because I'd been in the Army, I'd been a defense contractor, I'd been in the academic world as a professor. So none of those places are good places to admit that you speak to dead people or aliens.
Right.
So you can quickly lose your job or at least your security clearance, and then probably your job. So, but I've written, I think 5 books now about the paranormal experiences since that experience in 2016. So I just keep rolling. And you mentioned Anzar. Anzar's been with me a very long time. So, this new book, We Are the Aliens, kind of hits it on the head. I mean, that's actually what my friend Gene told me. It's one of the things he told me when I had that vision, and then later on when I started doing spirit walks on a regular basis, these meditative walks where I can make the connection. He told me, I asked him, I said, who are the aliens anyway? Who are these people? They're entities that are coming here. And he said, Bruce, we are the aliens. And from that point on, it just started to, I've been trying to figure it out, but it's really that simple, that we are one star family. So anyway, but it's a fun book, and I document more of my weekly spirit walk. Yeah, there's me and Anzar. One of the guises that he uses, he kind of appears as in a Native American looking, like a Katina doll or something. Sometimes he likes to have different guises, but that's one of the ones that he had. So that's me and him. And this idea of integration is interesting because a friend of mine who's a shaman, her name is Lucy, and she told me that she's the only other person that's seen him, and she saw him at a CIRO meeting, which is the Close Encounter Resource Organization here in California, but also around the world, actually, it's a worldwide organization for people who've had experiences with ETs. And she saw him, and that's how she described him, and that he looked like a native. He said a native-looking dude, but he was very tall, and he is tall.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I have this regular contact with him, and I have great discussions with him. He teaches me a lot of stuff, and now I've realized that actually we're kind of connected. We're more than connected. He's not. You mentioned, yeah, I befriended him. It's even more than that. I've discovered it myself more. It's an integration.
Mm-hmm.
He's both in the past and in the future, and together with me now. So we're sharing kind of an entity. We're kind of almost the same, which is kind of interesting. So I'm not exactly sure what it all means, to tell you the truth. I mean, I can tell you what the experience is like to figure this out, but nobody has all the answers. So, but anyway, it's an interesting exploration. Even though I'm 65, I'm learning every single day, whether it's teaching my students history or this experience. So, and I love the fact that you are so inclusive in your program. That you talk about paranormal stuff, you talk about alien stuff, you talk about international crises, but it's all connected. And now I hope to get to that, to tell you what I think, or what Anzar is telling me is going on in the world. So, and how it's all connected.
Well, that's what this is about. So that's why we're here. This book that you wrote is fascinating. Your other book about Anzar was fascinating, but this one's really fascinating. And the question that came up in my mind was, I've talked to a couple people about our DNA, and how there's a good possibility that we have alien DNA within us.
Right.
Has Anzar had that conversation with you yet about that?
Yeah. One thing that comes up is Rh negative blood, which is kind of a weird thing when you think about it. Only 15% of the 15% of the people in the world have Rh negative blood, and they don't really know why. And there's certain areas in the world where there's a much higher concentration, like in the Berber people or the Amazigh people of North Africa, kind of in the Morocco area. They're up to like 40% of them have Rh negative blood. And if you go into Spain, northern Spain, what do they call those people there? Anyway, there's a group of people there that are about 35%, and there's other air pockets, here and there. Now, both my mom and I were Rh negative. I'm A negative. My mom was O negative. She's the one who taught me how to do telepathy, and she would teach me just with playing cards, and my dad didn't think it was cool, but my mom did, and so she was very psychic. She wasn't a practicing psychic, but she was very, very good, and taught me and made it acceptable to me and opened up that world to me. So, but I think it's somehow tied into that, because nobody knows for sure why it is. They say, oh, it's some kind of, mutation or something. But when you think about where that Rh comes from, it's from the rhesus monkey, so in other words, if you're Rh positive, that's similar to, the primates, to their blood, but Rh negative is something different.
It's funny you mentioned the way your mother taught you.
Yes.
Because when I teach psychic development classes, I use playing cards.
Yeah. It's everybody has them in their junk drawer or whatever, or their book cabinet. So it's real easy. You don't have to have Zener cards or whatever, and fancy machines. You can just use playing cards. And we would start with something simple like, is it a red card or a black card? Just try to make it simple, and then you start being more specific. And we would get really good hit rates. And then in a row, it would be like, and then she was teaching me how you have to condition yourself, and also taught me that you're not going to be right all the time. And if you get distracted and, something interferes with the vision or the signal line, then, or if you start trying to guess, or, I think it's this, that analytical overlay, then you lose it, So those are the kind of things she taught me, and just to accept it and accept also kind of the responsibility that comes with that. Both the good and the bad, being very in tune. It can be a positive and can also be a negative in some situations. So
Absolutely. Sorry to get you sidetracked. I just thought it
no,
was.
no, it's fine.
I've never heard anybody else, using a regular deck of cards like I do.
Yeah,
I think it's great. And what people
yeah,
have to remember too, that it's not going to happen right away. You're gonna have a real low number the first time, but the more you do it, and the more you practice it, the more you're able to get those matches. As you're going.
that's that's true. Sometimes people have beginner's luck, or
Mm-hmm.
what they call first timer thing, where
Mm-hmm.
they're really remarkable. But then what happens is that people say, "Oh, this can't be real," so then
Mm-hmm.
they turn it off and they go, "No, I'm not going to accept that," even though they just did it like
Mm-hmm.
3 times in a row or whatever, got it right. And then so then they'll go way down again in their hit rate, and then they have to
Mm-hmm.
work their way up very hard by practice to get back up. So yeah, there's kind of a phenomena there, but for the most part, yeah, you just practice,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
it's but it's the same thing as with connecting, with Anzar, or
Mm-hmm.
telepathy, telekinesis. All that stuff is attention and intention. I mean, it's really just
Mm-hmm.
two things, and this focused calm, which
Mm-hmm.
is a lot of people are familiar with, especially sports people, whether they're golfers or bowlers or whatever. They have this ability. They call it the zone. The zone. I'm in the zone, but it's focus, but it's also calmness, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like a Zen thing, and it's a focused calm, and that's how you can connect, and that's how sometimes you get connected with, even if you're not expecting it,
Mm-hmm.
if you get
Mm-hmm.
into that frame of mind. So whether it's alien or otherwise.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, getting back to the Rh negative,
Yeah.
that's what you're saying is what I heard as well. Is it's people with Rh negative blood that might be the direct descendants of aliens, or maybe born aboard ship or something, right?
Some
Is that what I'm hearing?
I suspect that, but I don't know for sure,
Mm-hmm.
because there could be mutations too, other mutations.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it just seems rather odd that
Mm-hmm.
well, for one thing, this is kind of interesting. Anzar is the rain god in Morocco,
Wow.
and there's also he's also mentioned in Spain too, and I forgot the name of those people there in Spain. I'll think of it. But anyway, and he's also known in ancient Persia. There's a
Mm-hmm.
town called Anzar. And it's always the same kind of thing. A rain god. And but the Moroccan people, or the Berbers, or Amazigh in Morocco, they worship Anzar. So I had this guy randomly get a hold of me from the Netherlands, and he is Amazigh. And he
Mm-hmm.
said, "How'd you come up with the name Anzar? Did you research Morocco? Are you a historian of North Africa?" And I said, "Not at all. No, that's what he told me his name was." And he said, "Are you aware that he's the rain god?" And I said, "Well, I've heard about that since then, but." And then I started asking Anzar questions about it, and he said that is one of the things that he has done. you know that he is not that he never has said that he's a god, but that people have a tendency to worship things that they don't
Mm-hmm.
understand, or that super abilities or whatever. So and I think that's what it was. And so there is that connection, and
Mm-hmm.
which is fascinating. So I'm still looking into it. I don't know for sure. I don't think anybody knows for sure. I know there's some books written about it. I can't remember what the name of the author was, but
Mm-hmm.
he's a British guy that wrote a book about Rh negatives and the tie-in to aliens. But I know people who have Rh positive blood who also have connection with extraterrestrials. So and that are also psychic too. So I don't think it's all necessarily connected in that way. But I have a suspicion that it is, and that's part of the integration part of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which brings me to my next question. Have you asked Anzar, or has Anzar told you just what percentage, or just on a ballpark, what percentage of the population is integrated?
I haven't actually. That's a very good question. I'm going to write that down. The percentage integrated. Yeah. I don't know. because I focus so much on my relationship to him,
Mm-hmm.
and world events, and kind of questions about physics and so forth that I'm
Mm-hmm.
fascinated by. But uh, I don't know the answer to that question. The percentage that are integrated, I have a feeling that it's much higher than people
Mm-hmm.
think. I think, well, actually, officially integrated and accepting it is different than we are a star family, so we're all
Mm-hmm.
connected in one way or another, but some
Mm-hmm.
people are a little more connected than others. It's kind of like with psychic abilities. I always
Mm-hmm.
say that, which seems to go hand in hand with people who've had extraterrestrial abductions or experiences. They tend to be pretty psychic as well. It's kind of one of the things that come out of it. But I always say with psychic abilities, everybody has it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that some people, like in baseball, I use a baseball analogy. Everybody can throw a ball, but some
Mm-hmm.
people can throw it 90 miles an hour because they have this unique ability. So it just makes it easier. And I think everybody can learn it, but for some people, it's a little bit easier. They have a little bit of a natural gift. But like I said, it comes with responsibility too. It's a
Mm-hmm.
big responsibility because you can get yourself into pretty serious trouble uh, using your gift for bad purposes. You
Mm-hmm.
can really get yourself into trouble and
Mm-hmm.
in a hurry. And so I think that I would say we're all connected. I
Mm-hmm.
think we're all of alien stock. Some just a little bit more than others. Some a little bit more officially integrated than others.
Mm-hmm.
So what that percentage is, I don't know. I'd have to ask him. I will ask him. That's a very good question. Nobody's ever asked me that before.
Excuse for the itch. I was out working in my yard. Spider webs. Um, when you talk with Anzar, and this
Yeah.
recent eclipse. Let's go to that. This recent eclipse,
Hmm.
when the doomsayers were we're running around. Oh, we're
Yeah.
going to have the rapture. We're going to have all this.
Yeah.
Is there something ahead of us? Because, like you say, you talked to him about the future. Is there something
Yeah.
like that ahead for us, or is it going to be like a merging with beings like him?
Well, yeah. I mean, I ask him a lot about that, and the one thing he always says is that predictions can be wrong, but
Mm-hmm.
preparations are never wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So this idea that there's many different ways things could go, even those
Mm-hmm.
who navigate into the future or whatever, there's different paths that can
Mm-hmm.
follow that you might be part of. So I think it's very hard to predict, but there are certain trajectories that you can see. So what he's the basis of all this, and what he's telling me is that the divergence is between uh, control and free will. And that's what
Okay.
it's really coming down to. There are those alien entities, and I'll get back to this word alien because Ansar
Sure.
doesn't like the word alien, but I'll come back to that. It's kind of funny, the exchange I had with him about it. But he tells me that the choice is going to be between control and free will, and there's ETs lined up on either side. It's not so simple as like good ETs and bad ETs. It's just
Mm-hmm.
some favor control of human beings. That's the best
Mm-hmm.
way to manage the planet. And others favor, well, no, like Ansar, free will.
Mm-hmm.
That, yeah, we have to be allowed to make mistakes. So, and although they will protect us from the big mistakes, like all out nuclear war, then that's been proven. I mean, I have a friend, Bob Salas, who was at Malmstrom Air Force Base when the nukes were shut down, after a UFO sighting. So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this has been, and he's told me, Anzar's told me, we're not going to let you guys blow up the planet, but we can't stop you from your conventional warfare and so forth. But
Mm-hmm.
but there are other ETs who would like to have more control and
Mm-hmm.
have us controlled. And there's actually human counterparts that support each one of those positions that have contact with ETs, and on both sides. Those that believe in free will and those that believe in control. And it really comes down to that. And we're all going to have to make a choice eventually. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and it's kind of like parenting styles. We've all seen parents who are the helicopter parents. They won't let their children do anything. They won't let them go out of the house or go anywhere or do anything. They're just controlled. And then others who give their give them a chance to make a mistake, although they're worried all the time. All parents are worried, but for the most part, but you give them some free reign to make their own mistakes so they can learn, and then you protect them from the big things that will, kill them or something.
Right.
But you let them, do other things. So I think it's kind of a similar type thing, and because they would have the ability to stop all this stuff, but those ETs who favor free will say, well, then what do you learn? It's like a child. When you do everything for them, they have no abilities of their own. They have no way to manage on their own, and they haven't learned anything. So that's the dichotomy, and that's the main message about the future, is that it's coming pretty quickly on us. This idea of a third world war, if you can really call it that. Maybe other world wars, all wars are the same, but all wars are the same to a certain degree, but then there are differences as well. And I think the essence of this coming war, which he says is coming, is between free will and control. And I think we see that in our own society. Even here in America, we're home of the free, right? Well, maybe not as much as we think we are, and maybe not as much as we were. I know just in my lifetime, I've seen a lot of change in regarding that. And what I tell my students is that there's 2 steps to losing your freedom. The first step is you lose your privacy. Second, you lose your freedom. And we've already lost our privacy. So the second one is coming. So we're going to have to work together towards what Anzar calls a leap of consciousness, which is part of the integration. Leap of consciousness with them to realize what our purpose is on this planet and beyond, and unite with them. And that's what he's helping me learn, and how to promote that. So part of the book is about that integration, or that leap of consciousness, not a leap of faith, but a leap of consciousness, our next step in evolution. So
what exactly is, or a roundabout way, a leap of consciousness?
A leap of consciousness. So it has to do with, like if you were an understanding of the natural world, an understanding of the spirit world, the quantum world, the world of aliens, and our everyday interface, and also going back to what ancient people understood, because in many ways they were much more in tune with the cosmos and extraterrestrials and the animals and plant life and the earth itself. They were very much in tune with that. And we've kind of, in our modern society, modern technological society, we've somehow divorced ourselves from that. And now there's this hunger and yearning for wanting to return to our natural selves, or as I call it, our ancient selves, but not abandoning our technology or progress, but embracing the more holistic view of our position in the universe, which is that is the leap of consciousness, that we realize that we're not alone, for one thing, and we realize that we are all connected. And if you look at the quantum world, how it works, which is the subatomic world, that is, everything is connected. Everything, and it explains a lot, like telepathy, telekinesis. When you get down to the what it really is, it's based on this connection. That everything's connected. And anyway, that's what he means by a leap of consciousness, and it's going to take that, and there's resistance to it, of course. Yeah.
The other question I have for you, when you talk about these different aliens, you got the one set that's kind of backing us and watching things, and then you got the other set that kind of wants us to go a different way. Who is in charge of all this, or are they all just like on their best, just trying to be their best behavior?
Who's in charge from ultimately, or like you mean here on Earth, or kind
ultimately, because I mean you've got these different factions of aliens, so someone's got to be, controlling this so that they don't come in and descend on us now.
Yeah, well, there are those that are protecting us, like Anzar and others
Mm-hmm.
of his, and it's not necessarily by species or by who they are, because some of
Mm-hmm.
them are they're kind of mixed, they're
Mm-hmm.
kind of mixed, and it's not like, oh, here you can tell the bad guys and the good guys, or the ones that want to
Mm-hmm.
control us and the ones that don't, because it's kind
Mm-hmm.
of a mixed bag. But uh, the coordination between them is it's kind of, my understanding is kind of beyond our ability to understand how they're managing all this, because
Mm-hmm.
I mean, first of all, it's all the ability to communicate telepathically automatically raises you up to a higher consciousness, this
Mm-hmm.
idea that you don't have to use your spoken words anymore,
Mm-hmm.
and it makes it much easier to get your point across directly to somebody. It's almost like you can speak from your intention to intention. It's like, instead of saying, I'm going to go and get that glass of water, the person knows that's what you're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
They know what your intention is, and that's the basis of mind reading. Actually, is it's not that you can you read people's minds, you read their intentions. You
Mm-hmm.
can hear them, even
Mm-hmm.
sometimes see them, but the coordination so they're basically, like I said, divided into those that believe we should have free will and those that
Mm-hmm.
believe we should be controlled, and then there's some renegade factions too, that so it's kind of split, but there's a general agreement among those aliens who believe we should have free will, that this is the way they should approach us,
Mm-hmm.
because Earth is a valuable resource to them. Otherwise, why would they care? Why would they be
Mm-hmm.
here?
Right.
Why would they be contacting me? Why would all this be going on? Why would there be UAPs? Because there's obviously something they want,
Mm-hmm.
and what they want is to preserve this very unique planet of ours,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what they're trying to help us to do.
Mm-hmm.
And the other, the ones that want to control, I mean, they want to preserve the planet too, but they want to do it through different means.
Mm-hmm.
The end goal is the same. It's just the means to get there. And Anzar and his group believe that their idea is that they can manage, they can keep us from destroying the whole thing, which is
Mm-hmm.
quite a feat in and of itself, but they're going to
Right.
allow us to make mistakes. So that means there is going to be suffering. I mean, we see it every day. We keep inching a little bit closer. People making, serious miscalculations and errors,
Mm-hmm.
and so but I have confidence that that we will take that leap of consciousness. But there
Mm-hmm.
is a possibility that we might be afforded the opportunity. This is something new that I've learned, and it's in the book, that we might be afforded an opportunity to leave the planet if it doesn't turn out right. So,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of was news to me. I mean, I'd heard people say that, but I never heard Anzar talk about that before. So,
Right. Now, here's a question I have. Now, obviously, these visitors have been coming for thousands of years to check us out.
right.
Is it a case where they're waiting for us to get to a certain point in our evolution to understand, so that they're confident that we will understand what they're promoting with us?
Well, yes, in a way, because if you try to advance people too quickly, I think
Mm-hmm.
it could be kind of I think the late Jim Marrs called it the boggle factor.
Mm-hmm.
And I find myself, as I'm learning more, uh, I've every once in a while asked Danzer, well, why didn't you just tell me right away? Why be so coy about it?
Mm-hmm.
Because you weren't ready. You need to, it's kind of like learning anything that's very difficult. You got to take it a step at a time. So,
Mm-hmm.
and now you're talking about the whole human race. How are
Mm-hmm.
we going to get everybody to cooperate and to take this leap? And
Mm-hmm.
it's very, very difficult, and it takes time. And some people aren't ready, and there's a lot of institutions that we've built, and governments, and corporations and everything that all have to eventually get into line to realize we got to work together, and we're not there yet. So there are some, I think some of the people who make contact, myself and others, I think you're kind of like heralds of the future. It's like, okay, we're trying to tell you what they're telling us, and oftentimes, we get made fun of, or I mean, I don't care. People can make fun of me all day long if they want. But I'm not worried about my job. That's what I used to be worried about. But I don't worry about it anymore. And what are they going to do? I'm 65 years old. Retire me early? Okay, that doesn't hurt me. I'm okay, whatever. I mean, I enjoy what I do. So, but I think that's kind of what a lot of people are that are contactees, are heralds of the future, of this coming leap of consciousness. So you have to prepare the way. And some people are going to listen, and some people are going to look into it for themselves and see what they think, and make that step. And others are going to resist it for whatever reason. And that's the process. And it takes a very long time. I mean, people generally don't like to change until the situation is right, or they're forced to change, usually under a threat. That's when a lot of people decide to change.
Absolutely. Well, thinking about history, like you had said a little while ago about they're standing off to the side watching us evolve with our weapons and all this other stuff. When you think about, when you go back through history and you look at the Egyptians and the Romans and all these people that existed before us, they were still doing that. They were still watching to see the evolution. And I think, and I agree with you in that, they're waiting for us to get to a certain point to where they feel confident enough to be able to really, have that openness with us.
Yeah, and it comes back to this idea of, I know in the UFO or ufology world, as they call it, they talk about disclosure. That's all the disclosure. And Anzar told me it's not disclosure, it's revelation. Okay. That's the word he uses. So now I've always, I've been sharing that for the last, few years. And now I'm starting to hear it creep into the language in the ufology community. They're talking about revelation. It's not disclosure. And the difference is this. Disclosure is other directed. That's where we wait for the government or some body and authority, governmental authority, to tell us what the truth is. Revelation is where you know it from within. It's inner directed. Your experience, your belief system that comes from within. You just know that this is the reality, that this is what's happening. And that is revelation. That it reveals the truth to you rather than from within, rather than, a government entity or, the president speaking from the White House lawn with an alien, around his arm or something, telling you, hey, they're real. Look they're right here with me.
That's pretty funny.
So that's a key point. It's about revelation, and that's introspection. And for a lot of people, that's hard. They like to be told what to do. As much as we say we don't like to be told what to do, a lot of people are more comfortable being told what to do. And it's, I've never liked being told what to do. And that's weird because I was in the Army for 6 years, and that you talk about a place that tells you what to do, when to get up, when to eat, when to do everything, when to shower, when to, everything was controlled. And that's exactly why I ended up getting out. I got everything I could out of it. Discipline, for one thing. Which helped me. It helps me all the time. But the idea of not having your own, your own schedule, what you want to do, but to a certain degree, every one of us, we have jobs that we make money at, and we have to comply with certain rules and regulations, or in the state or the county or city or the country that we live in. So, all those things are necessary to keep order. But we also need that free will, and that's what it really comes down to. And I really value my freedom, and I see a lot of people just kind of letting it slip away because they want security or they want safety. And it's not like you can keep your freedom, free choice, free will, and have total security. There's a trade-off, with that. So, and I think I think I answered
Yes.
the question, but I
Yes.
kind of
Yes.
went round and round it a couple of
That's
times.
okay. That's okay. Now,
Yeah.
now when you speak about stuff with Anzar,
Hmm.
we kind of touched on the future. Does he say that there's alien hybrids here? I mean, we're talking integration and stuff, but what about this alien hybrid program? Does he have any information on that, or does it not exist?
No, it does. And if you look on the back, I don't know if I sent you a picture of the back of my book,
Okay.
but there you go. There's the scene. You can see. Hopefully, it's kind of
Yeah, but yeah, I can see it. Yeah,
yeah. It's
yeah,
kind of a little bit of glare there, but uh, that those are three aliens, not Anzar, and
hmm
me by this in a ship, and there's a vat there or a tub with four alien babies in it, hybrid babies. Now, this was a vision that I was given a couple years ago, and it was so startling and so traumatic for me that it took several months for me to get over it. I actually had to go get counseling about it. Um, and it was revealed to me that these four alien hybrid children were mine. And
wow.
I thought, well, first of all, my first thought was, no, that can't be. I mean, I had heard the only people I'd ever heard talking about alien hybrid children were usually women.
hmm
And so I'd never heard a guy talk about. I never heard a man talk. I don't. I'm not trying to be sexist or anything, but I'm just saying that it seems to be always a woman that's talking about it. So, and it's not that I didn't believe them, but it's just that it seemed so. I hadn't had that experience, so I was always kind of okay. I accept that what you're saying is true, but I don't really know. I mean, I haven't had that experience. But then suddenly I have this experience, this lucid dream where I was half awake and half asleep, and it was happening. And the horrible thing was that I was trying to free them from this tub, which was kind of it had this glow, this golden glow from beneath, but there was like this film over the top of the babies, and they were gasping for breath, and I
hmm
was trying to like free them, trying to every time I tried to cut it open or rip it open, it would like seal back up again. And the three controllers, I call them controllers, were telling me, no, that's not it. That's not what you're supposed to do. And I
hmm
said, what do you mean? I'm trying, they're gasping for breath. And ultimately I realized because they didn't know what it was. They wanted me to figure it out. And what it was is they needed to be taught how to love. They didn't know
Okay.
what love was. And that's what those children needed. And as soon as that, I realized that and that I actually cared about them, that whether they lived or died. And then I was told that's what you need to do. You don't need to tear them out of this thing. This is where they're supposed to be. This is where they're safe. But they
hmm
needed something from you. And I had to accept that. And that was the part that they were, getting across
hmm
to me, and was the acceptance of it. So I think that yes, there are. I've seen them. I've had experience with them, and there's a lot of people who have as well. And I don't know how. And this is another recent revelation that I've had. Um, I have, my mom was very psychic. She passed away in 1990. I forgot um, how she looked. How she had a very unusual look to her.
hmm
And I wish I had the picture to show you, but um, she just was. She had, well, for one thing, she had freckles. She had red hair, and she had like ice blue eyes. She had very startling, kind of ice blue eyes. So she was kind of a remarkable looking lady to begin with, and she was very psychic. So when I was born, she was almost 40 years old. It was a complete surprise. My sister told me. My
Wow.
parents didn't tell me that, but my sister told me. How did this? Well, how did it happen? I guess you figure how it happened, but I didn't know for sure. So I just think that there's more to the story, and I obviously I never asked my mom about it, but
hmm
I'm just wondering if there was, you know, there's more to that story about, being a hybrid. I'm not saying I'm saying I'm
Right.
integrated with Anzar. I don't know if that makes me a hybrid, because I think we all are to a certain degree.
Mm-hmm.
So, because we're all star family. So, but I think after I saw that, had that lucid dream and that connection, I saw that, yes, there is this program going on. It mostly. I think most of the people that are involved, you mostly hear the horror stories that people say, genetic material was taken from me against my will, and that's what you hear. But what you don't hear is that the great majority of people who have these experiences, although it's shocking and traumatic, they're going along with it. Because once you realize what's going on, that it's not bad, it's not evil. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that's that's the hard part to accept. And and I'm really glad I had that experience. So that's why I put it on the back of the book, and I tell the complete story
Mm-hmm.
inside the book too, of that experience. And but yes, that's a long answer to the question. Yes.
That's cool. That's cool. Now, now, I know you do those meditative
Yeah.
walks to get ready to
Yeah.
communicate with Antar. How much does Antar come see you now? Is it still at the same rate it was at first, or
I
has it tapered off, or
I connect with them every time that I'm ready to. I mean,
okay?
I don't have like, like once I was doing it a couple times a week, but what
Uh-huh.
happened was that it was too exhausting, because
Uh-huh.
these sessions are very exhausting, and
Uh-huh.
I have to get into a meditative state as I'm walking. I have a special place that I walk that's, kind of an old uh, Indian medicine road, goes up into
Uh-huh.
the mountains here. It's a
Uh-huh.
beautiful walk. And but it's exhausting, and I have to record it. I record what I see, what I hear, because when I started them and I wasn't recording it on my phone, uh, I had trouble remembering what I was told, and it was
Uh-huh.
frustrating. So now, when what I hear him saying or showing me, or feelings or whatever, I record all of it. What I say, what I hear him say, or others, like Gene. I talk to him, my
Uh-huh.
parents as well, and other people. I and that's the way I do it. So I'd say it's average about once a week. I'd say was be the average. Now
Okay.
it was a little bit more before, but
Uh-huh.
it's a little bit exhausting. So I'd make it about once a week now, which is good. That's
Very
about right.
interesting. And it is exhausting to do that kind of work. It's absolutely exhausting. I agree with you
Yeah,
100% on
and
that.
it's hard to explain, to somebody who, digs ditches for a living. That
Right.
you tell them, oh, this is exhausting when I connect with ants. Oh yeah, right, buddy. Try digging a ditch. Well, I have dug ditches before, and that's really hard too. It's just a different kind of hard. That's all.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
How old is Anzar? Do you know?
Uh, he told me he is originally from, and this is interesting. I've always been interested in Orion,
Uh-huh.
and he's originally from the Orion system, from Rigel, from the planetary system around Rigel, and the Rigel system. And it's over. He told me it's over 1 million years ago. So
He's been
yeah,
around.
he's an ancient alien. Yes, he's been around for a long time.
And that brings me to something you said earlier in the interview about him being a rain god,
Yes,
the
and
rain tiki. And that's interesting because, when you look back through history and some of the beliefs, chariots of the gods, or,
mhm.
if you look at that book, you could kind of tell in a way that these guys, I like that, just about every god that the ancients had were probably aliens.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it makes sense, and I think that's the point that who Jacques Vallée and others that
Uh-huh.
kind of looked into mythology, and that I think that it seems to make a lot of sense.
Uh-huh.
Ancient people would see them as gods, and when I asked Anzar, well, are you really a god? And no, no, he doesn't claim to be. Because I've had people say, oh, probably a demon. He's probably trying to lead you astray. Well, I've
Uh-huh.
been communicating. He's been part of my life my whole life. He's helped me. He's rescued me. He's given me great advice. He always reminds me to keep love in my heart and always operate from a position of love, which is easier said than done, by the way.
Mhm.
But that doesn't sound like a demon to me,
Mhm.
and he isn't. So but it's some people find it. They and that's part of the problem with Congress right now with the UAP thing is that some members of Congress are absolutely convinced that this is, they're not thinking that it's not real. They're just saying that it's
Mhm.
demonic, so we should not deal with it, and
Mhm.
that is a mistake. That is a mistake on that. I understand the fear. Believe
Mhm.
me, I mean, it is traumatizing. The first big experience I had with Anzar in back in 1964 that I really have memories of. It was so traumatizing for me, even though he rescued me from a child predator, which
Mhm.
is pretty admirable. I mean, a demon wouldn't do that, right?
Right.
So uh, they would lure me into it. That's what they would do. But I was rescued from it, and it was so traumatizing that I had to go to speech therapy for 2 years. I lost the ability to communicate because I was so traumatized by the whole
Mhm.
event, and
Mhm.
uh, and I was stuttering so badly that I just stopped talking, and and luckily they had, I mean, this was the olden days, the 60s, but they did have speech therapists that would come into each school, and me and several other kids had speech therapy, and I was able to. I never would have believed that I'd be talking on the radio or
Mhm.
that I would be teaching, lecturing, because I thought I'd never be able to speak, without people making fun of me.
Mhm.
But I learned ways to overcome that. But I mean, that's a physical manifestation from a trauma, and so yeah, I could look at it negatively and say, "Wow, that was terrible," But then,
Mhm.
okay, he rescued me. The exchange was that I had 2 years of speech therapy, and I've struggled with that. But the exchange, that's a pretty fair exchange, I would say.
Absolutely. The other
Yeah.
question I have is, over the years, talking with him and everything, what do you think are the most important things that he's taught you?
Well, what he tells me reminds me of every time, to keep love in my heart and always
Mhm.
operate from a position of love. And that, like I said, it's easier said than done, because if you actually practice that, it makes your life a lot easier. It really does, because then you start to understand why people do what they do.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm like everybody else. Somebody does something, they go, "Oh, that person, I don't like them." What do they do? And then I tried to think, okay, approach it from a position of love. What's going on? How are they hurting where they're acting like that? And then
Mhm.
it changes the way the color of your world. It really does. So that's one of the most important things. And the other thing is the connection. I'll go back to this idea. It was kind of a funny exchange. It's in the beginning of the book, the first
Mhm.
chapter.
Mhm.
Uh, I'll just read this. It's kind of funny.
Sure.
Uh, uh, so the chapter is called "Who Wants to Be an Alien?" And then aliens. Would you like to be called an alien? Does not sound very friendly. Look up the definition, said Anzar. Wow, I think I touched a nerve, but I did look it up. Alien, a creature from outer space, extraterrestrial, often disparaging or offensive, a resident of one country or born or owes allegiance to another country and has not acquired citizenship. Resident alien, illegal alien, an adjective, unlike one's own, strange, not belonging to one. Alien speech, residing in a country other than the country of your birth.
Mhm.
Uh, all these negative things. Opposed, adverse, hostile. The manifesto is full of ideas alien to modern thinking. It's all this negative stuff, and so he has a point. He said,
Mhm.
"Who wants to be called an alien?" So I said, "Okay, fine. What do you want to be called?" And he said, "Star Family," which I love,
Nice.
and it
That's
also
nice.
it also connects to the Native American, ancient people, indigenous people.
Mhm.
They call them star people, whether it's the Native American tribes here or the Aborigines in Australia. I think they call them star people too. So most of the, uh, and the Amazigh in Morocco, they say that they say that Anzar has alien origins. So they even say it. It's in their rituals. That
Uh-huh.
he is not from here.
Uh-huh.
You know, and so I kind of like that. I mean, I use the term because everybody uses it. So alien, yeah. But then I always try to say, well, it's really star family, and I don't
Uh-huh.
want to sound too new agey, but it is more descriptive. It's more accurate because we're all connected. We're all
Uh-huh.
family. So, and who wants, like I said in the chapter, who wants to be called an alien? You
Right.
know,
Right.
doesn't sound nice.
So when we think about Anzar visiting other people, do you think that in addition to you, because maybe because you said you're communicating about like once a week with him, do you
Yeah.
think he's also in communication with others?
Um, I've asked him about that, and I've actually asked Lucy too, because she's the only other person that's seen him, and
Uh-huh.
she actually did communicate with him, and the basis of that communication was this idea of integration. That's what she
Uh-huh.
focused on, and that I would have to make a decision. Am I going to integrate with him to
Uh-huh.
make it easier to have that connection? And now it's very easy. I just have to think about it, and I can connect with him. I don't even have to go into some big ritual meditation or anything.
Uh-huh.
And in fact, he'll tell me stuff just even if I'm talking to you. He's not talking to me right now, but he could. Or
Uh-huh.
when I'm going to bed at night and I'm relaxing, and all of a sudden there'll be like a little download of something, and so I don't have to try that hard to do it. But that now I forgot the question. I'm sorry, I got kind of wrapped around the axle there, but
Is he
um,
communicating with others
yeah.
besides you? Yeah.
Yeah, well, he's communicated with Lucy. I know that. And
Right.
I've asked him about others, and he hasn't really said he's communicating with others. Although I said he should. I'd said, I don't,
Uh-huh.
I would like you to appear to Charlotte, to you or
That'd be
to
cool. Yeah.
yeah, and I would, and I'm sure you would tell me if he has. But so
Absolutely. Oh,
far
absolutely.
I've invited him to do so, but so far the only other person who's told me they have communicated with him is Lucy. Now, Lucy is a very, very skilled shaman. I mean, in the
Uh-huh.
Native American tradition. She's Mexican American, but she's in the Native American tradition of shaman, and she does shamanic practices and helps people. She's a really nice person, and so so I'm not adverse to him doing it.
Uh-huh.
I think he might do it. Maybe they understand him differently. I don't know, but I know the Amazigh know who he is, and I would love to go to Morocco and
Uh-huh.
meet Amazigh people and tell them about my connection, and it might be a pretty special. Well, it would be very special to do
Uh-huh.
that. I think they would appreciate it. Well, at least I hope so. I hope they wouldn't think I was doing something sacrilegious.
Uh-huh.
So I'd have to be careful. Yeah. So as far as I know he's spoken to at least one other person, and I've told him, I want you to talk to other people, people that I've talked to, like yourself, that are
Uh-huh.
nice people, and I said, I think you should try to help our leaders, try to help them, give them some wisdom, but I'm not sure they're accepting of it. You have to meet
Uh-huh.
them halfway. You
Uh-huh.
can't be closed off. That I remember I read this book a long time ago called something psychic protection or something like that. And they
Uh-huh.
said, rule number one, don't believe in it. And it's like, okay, all right, you just shut it off and okay, it's not real. That doesn't mean
Uh-huh.
things won't happen. It just means you're not going to register it. So,
Right. Right.
and
Right.
entities are not going to they're not going to waste all their energy trying to connect with people who aren't listening
Uh-huh.
or don't want to listen. They're
Uh-huh.
going to identify people, as Whitley Strieber said, there's a glow, and those are the people they go after because that's an
Uh-huh.
easier connection. It's the path of least resistance, like
Right.
anything else. They have to expend energy to reach us, and we have to expend energy to reach them. I always say we're punching up, they're punching down. Or not really punching, but to the
Uh-huh.
connection, to make the connection. So
Uh-huh.
and yeah, so
Do you ever think that our government is going to have disclosure on this? Because, like you said earlier, there's actually people in Congress that believe that these aren't extraterrestrials, that they're actually demons. So is the
yeah.
government ever going to be able to come together to have a consensus about this?
Well, there's a couple of problems. That's one of the problems. One of the problems is the secret, the compartmentalization, the siloing of all the information.
Hmm.
Because I have a friend, a former FBI guy. I guess there's no such thing as a former FBI guy. They're always FBI, but he's retired, I guess, from the FBI,
Right.
doing another type of job. But he said that they've been spending all their time trying to strap a bomb to it, all the technology that they do have and they do possess. They haven't gotten anywhere with it because Anzar said it's the technology is meant for everyone, not for the strategic advantage of the few. It's for everyone, and it's not to be used for war, for killing people. And that's the mistake that governments have been making for 80 years or 70 years, whatever it is, almost 80 years, I guess. Um, that they've been trying to figure out how to weaponize it, you know,
Hmm.
and that's a waste of time. It's a waste of time, and because our connection is supposed to be that evolutionary step where we move beyond the necessity for, at least warfare as we know it. You
Hmm.
know.
And along that line, one of the last questions for you tonight.
Hmm.
Everybody talks about Area 51 and the possibility that there's
Hmm.
spacecraft on that base. Does Anzar ever talk about that stuff? Where there's spacecraft in existence, like around Shasta, maybe, how people talk about all that
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, I've had an experience at Mount Shasta. It's a very weird experience, but anyway, yes, he does. The place I've focused on most is Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, which has a very deep history
Makes sense.
going back to 1947 to Roswell. And as it happens, my eldest son is stationed at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, and not only is he stationed there, but he's in the reserves, Air Force Reserves. Uh, but he also his main job, his primary job, is a defense contractor in Area B on
Hmm.
Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. So he has like the top highest level security clearance you can get. And like when I ask him, "What are you working on?" He said, "I can't tell you, Dad. I can't tell you what I'm working on." But he works with the scientists and engineers in the Air Force Research Laboratory, which AFRL, if your listeners look it up, that's in Area B, the super secret part of Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. And there have been he's had weird experiences there. Like in January of last year, him and 12 other people um, that he works with, and other people in the base, all got suddenly ill at the same time, very seriously ill. And my son is still not well, and it happened overnight. And the Air Force said, "Oh, it's just a night terror," and he
Hmm.
said, "No, it's not. You need to do testing." And they did some minimal testing, and they found out he had some anomaly with his heart now. He never had a heart problem before, and he has all these other problems too that aren't going away. He couldn't work for 6 months. He couldn't work and or do physical training or anything else they're supposed to do in the military. And they've never adequately tested him. And I asked Anzar about it, and he said, "Well, it's when Congress started snooping around, uh, the contractors who have all these UAP materials were trying to move them, and they got a little." A little sloppy with it, and there was a release of radiation, and they were also moving them out of Edwards, and I assume out of Area 51 too, because these are the locations where everybody pretty much who knows that's where this stuff is.
Right.
So Congress, of course, knows the same thing. They know more than we do, and they know where to go looking. And the contractors who have this stuff don't want them to get it,
Hmm.
so they started to move it to different, kind of playing a shell game. And they were quickly trying to reverse engineer what they could, and they got sloppy, and there was a release of radiation. That's what Anzar told me. I've actually put in a congressional investigation to help my son, and it's
Hmm.
already been stonewalled by the Air Force.
Of
And
course.
so, and I've had visiting in Ohio when I was going to be on another show on another podcast and talk about this. Uh, the night before we were in Ohio, the night before somebody broke into our hotel room in the middle of the night, and I caught them. My wife woke me up, and I got up and ran to the door. The door closed. I opened the door, and there was a man in a like highway construction uniform, like with the orange vest and everything. I thought
Right.
that's weird. I looked at him, and he said, "Oh, sorry." and I was like so stunned. I didn't think to
Mhm.
like call security or whatever. I just was, wow, okay. He seemed so nice, and then the door opened on the other side, and there were other construction workers there, and he went in there, and that was it. In the morning, I told the manager, and they said, well, there's no way anybody can get in your room. You must have left it open. I said, we don't leave the door open. We're
Mhm.
in sleeping, we don't leave the door open in our hotel room. Plus they close automatically anyway. I mean,
Right.
they close by themselves. So I said, no, they were in the room. They didn't break the door, so they must have had a key. And they said, oh, that's impossible. I said, well, could you look in your register? They went into a room across the hallway, check and see who's there. And
Mhm.
she looked, and there's nobody registered in that room. I said, well, how about the one on either side? No, nobody's registered in any of those rooms. And I go, oh, that is bizarre. Somebody's lying. Somebody's lying, or they weren't even human. You know.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Yeah. So
Bruce,
that.
it's
Yeah.
always fun to have you on, buddy. It's
Yeah.
great to have
Yeah.
you on.
Oh, thank you, Charlotte. I appreciate it.
We'll have to get you back on again later on.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm going to visit my son at Wright Patterson in September. I'll probably have stories from that
Well, let's
from
do
that
that.
trip.
Definitely, yeah. That would be great. What's
Okay.
next? What's coming up next for you?
Just talking to a lot of people about this book, and I'll be doing a presentation for a local group in Hollywood. I'll be doing
Mhm.
that at the end of the month, and a couple other presentations. So I'll be talking about this and other topics, and still walking. Doing my and my comics. I still publish
Yes.
my comics, so I'm working on that. So anybody who wants to check out this stuff on Amazon, just type in my name. You'll see all the comics and all the paranormal books. So
Fantastic.
yeah.
Once again, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Charlotte. I appreciate it.
I'd definitely like to get you back on if that's okay.
Yeah, yeah, anytime.
Okay. All right, sir. Well, you have a great rest of your evening.
You too. Take care.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye now.
It is so fun to have him on and hear this stuff. You don't hear that every day. So yeah, so it's always great. Tomorrow we'll be back here at 6:30 p.m. Pacific. We're going to be talking about orbs. There's a new book out called Orbs: The Energy of Life, and it's written by Penny Rummel, and she's a newer author, and she's going to be coming on the show tomorrow night at 6:30 p.m. So if you're interested in how orbs can be the energy of life, this is the show for you. Okay. All right. Well, I want to thank you guys for joining me tonight. Again, we'll be back at 6:30 tomorrow. If you like the show, share it with 5 people. If you hear the show, share it with 5 of your enemies. Always equal opportunity here. Just trying to get the word out about our little old show. But I really appreciate each and every one of you, from the video feed to the RSS feed out there at iHeartRadio and all those good places, and Sprecher and all those. I really appreciate each and every one of you. And I can't wait to get back here tomorrow to spend more time with you guys. With with this author. I'm sorry, I'm just tired right now. It's been a long day, but thank you all for coming. And I'm going to go ahead and get you Bruce's information and a few of his books, and then I'll just let you go. Here we go. Who's got the button? There it is. Okay, his website is Bruce Olav Solheim. It's his name. It's all lowercase.com. And the books are We Are the Aliens and Anzar the Progenitor. And here are his comics, Timeless, Deja Vu, and you've got another book called Timeless, and you've got Timeless Trinity and Snark. And those are the comic books. And of course, you can get those at Amazon.com. Okay, gang, I'll see you tomorrow, 6:30 p.m. Pacific. Have a great rest of your evening. Bye.